All right, all right, all right. Here's one thing that you need to know about content creation. There is a foolproof scheme. There is a strategy to employ that will move the needle. There are some time-tested, battle-proven strategies that you can utilize to take your content to the next level. One of those tools in your arsenal should be coaching. It just should be. It should be a coach. It should be an immovable sounding board for you to be able to throw your ideas against and have that person come back with insight, perspective, and next steps that can help you to move the needle. That's what coaching is all about. Coaching is a space that you get out of it what you intend. So as you enter into any kind of coaching situation, whether it's for finances, whether it's for your diet or for your fitness, whether it's for your career or for content creation, you've got to set your intention in terms of, this is what the end goal is for me, and I want to get there. I want to achieve that. I want to understand that. And in today's show, we're going to actually talk about 5 things that you can do to be a successful content creator. Count them. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 things that you can do to be a successful content creator. Stories told of a person, a content creator that I will not name, who decided, I've been playing with this thing too long. I'm gonna actually put some money and effort and carved out intentional time and systems behind my content empire. And I want to just go hard for 6 months and see what I can achieve. That person did exactly that. And I'm going to tell you, within 2 months, they already were seeing phenomenal and exponential growth. But the deal was for 6 months. The agreement was that they would do it for 6 months. And so they continued forward. In month 3 and 4, they started to see a dip. They started to see that the same kind of effort and energy was not met with success and began to get discouraged. But the deal was for 6 months. 6 months. The deal was for 6 months. And most of you would like me to say that in months 5 and 6, things went up. Things got better. They began to see growth and impact and meeting metrics that meant they were meeting all of their goals. And that's just not the truth. They saw flashes of success, flashes of the right kinds of metrics, but they were by and large flatline. At month 6, the end of this project, the person determined, that's it. I've given it my best shot. I've invested my time, effort, energy, money, and this is simply not for me. Nothing I can do. And for many people, the story ends right there. For many people, the story ends right there. But they decided to book a coaching call with someone who they were intending to just vent. They were intending for the $250 coaching call to be a therapy session for themselves, to just essentially tell this quote unquote guru, this doesn't work. By the halfway mark of that hour-long coaching call, they had shifted the perspective. They got clarity on their target audience and value proposition. They began to look at the data behind why that flat line was there, why they were seeing those flashes. They begin to put verbiage and terminology around what they were experiencing and why it was happening. She left that call with a set of action items. I don't like to call it homework. And those action items were exploratory at best. These were not the silver bullet. These were things that she could try in order to make that change, in order to get the results that she was looking for. And again, I wish I could tell you that everything that she was given to do just simply worked. No, out of the 5 things that she was given, only 1 worked, and maybe 2 of them had any flash of impact. But she was armed now with insight on the ebb and flow. She was armed now with a strategy that helped her to recognize that it wasn't just a shot in the dark, that it wasn't just haphazard or dumb luck. She was armed with insight and information that allowed her to test intelligently. See, somebody's gonna tell you, oh man, come to me and I'm gonna blow up your channel. I'm gonna have you go viral. I'm gonna have you experience all the success. Nah, that's not my way. What I can promise you, whether you're watching this live or you're watching on the replay, what I can promise you is that when you go into coaching, regardless of whether you go to me or not, a real coach is gonna tell you you're gonna get out of this what you intend. And so this person in that first session, their intention was to vent, and they got that. But the unexpected thing was that, if you haven't guessed it already, I was the coach and I was venting with her. She felt much better because she was expecting to come and be like, nothing you're going to tell me is going to work. I'm here. I've done this. I've done that. And I started to complain with her. Yeah, I did this one time and they told me the thumbnail was going to be the issue. And I did the thumbnail. You got to do the thumbnail before you come up with the content. That's what they all say. And she's looking at me like, is this guy crazy? I thought this was a coaching session. He's supposed to be telling me that these things work. No. I don't believe there to be one singular path towards success for everyone, specifically because not everyone defines success the same way. And so for her target audience and for her specific value proposition, we were able to find a niche. We were able to stack on top of some of the things that she uniquely is qualified to do. And we're able to leverage that bad boy. I can tell you right now, she's experiencing exponential growth. Yeah, she's experiencing exponential growth. Yeah, she's experiencing exponential growth. But it wasn't because she just grit her teeth and bear it. It wasn't because she decided to make the investment in herself and she decided to do all these things. No, it was because she got a second pair of eyes on that thing. She was able to have someone else look over the entire operation and say, you might want to look into this. Sometimes we're just too close. I'm gonna tell you right now, even for my own content, I sometimes need a coach to look over it, to say, you're doing too much of this, you're doing too much of that, you're confusing the algorithm here. You have so many talents, Kirk, but you can't share all of them in the same place. What you got to do is figure out ways to stack that thing. In the next coming months and weeks, you're going to see slightly different types of content coming out on the channel from me. Not we're still going to do the how-to videos. We're still going to cover features and releases and streaming platforms and strategy. But you're going to see some different types of content coming out from me, because we're doubling down on this whole coach thing. And this Wednesday show, the Coaching Corner with Kirk, is going to be one of our signature offerings. Because one of the things I absolutely love to do is to see that light bulb go on in somebody's mind. Like, man, I could try that. Like, man, never thought about it like that before. And I want to create a space where people of like mind, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, content creators, content entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, consultants, I want to create a space where folks can have that experience regularly. All right, that's my little intro for today. I stopped doing the countdown clock. Strategy number 1. Strategy number 2, hit people with content immediately. So now we're what? 11 minutes into the live, and now I can say, what's good, Enenea? Thank you for being with us today. What's going on, Tatiana? Tatiana says, hey, Florence. What's going on, Florence? Thank you so much for being here. I see Michael Flemings was first to the punch today, says he's watching from the Preston of the Park Cities. That's interesting. And I see some of you are responding to one another in the chat. I love seeing that. I love seeing that. I love seeing that. Yeah, I love seeing it. Oh, look at that. I knew that was going to happen. There we go. There we go. We got a top down shot. We got the zoom shot. I think this is the zoom shot. BTS, what's going on with the BTS? We got everything set back up, I think. And we got the swipe on there too. We put a swipe. Yeah. Change the lighting profile in the studio here a little bit. Ravens Talk with Yolanda is on the live. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm trying to use this pedal a little more. Trying to, at least. I keep on forgetting that when you put a comment up in these scene switcher groups, it's sometimes not going to work too well. Because right now, it's going to come back up in this next scene, I think. There it is. I can take it down. Oh. I don't know. But you get the idea. You get the idea behind it, hopefully. Where are we at now? Now, I want to say this to those that are watching. Let me come back to the host scene, which is where now? This one? So for those watching, this is your opportunity to ask your questions. I have a presentation, and it says, "Oh, you're fancy, Kirk." I try to test out these features every now and again. I have a presentation. Yes, I do. There it is. 5 keys to be a successful content creator. But I'm not necessarily going to go through that just yet, at least. Let's see here. That's going to bring us back to that. Good. I'm not going to go through that just yet. I want to open the floor for your questions. Thank you so much for being with us, Yolanda. And I see we have somebody new coming through and hanging out with us today. Mont P24 says, my StreamYard kept glitching and my internet connection was great. What would be my issue? All right. Yeah, of course I can see your chat, bro. Of course I can see your chat. Sometimes I'm not going to stop immediately to take your question, but I see it and I just pulled it up. See, there's a slight delay between what you see and what I'm actually saying. So let me say this. Glitching is not a descriptive term. Glitching can mean so many different things. Are you talking about your camera? Are you talking about the live stream when you're watching on the destinations? Are you talking about the website? The StreamYard website was doing something weird did it happen when you're clicking on an overlay? Did it happen when you're switching cameras? Glitching is not a very descriptive term. So I actually can't answer your question because I don't know what you mean by glitching. So let's take a couple steps back and let's try to be a little more descriptive, because I mean, I use StreamYard for client projects literally all the time. It is one of the most stable web-based streaming platforms out there. Even though it is not the most feature rich, it is very stable. So when you say glitching, what do you mean? And I see that you've come back with 4 words: my live stream jumps. Is it the whole screen? Is it just your camera? Like, walk me through this scenario. Because here's the thing. Because I use StreamYard on a regular basis, and because this does not happen, I have to kind of lean towards there's something in your config. So maybe walk us through your chain. How is your camera connected? What type of camera are you using? When you say it jumps, is it your camera that's jumping, or is it the whole screen, including the background and the lower thirds and the headlines, and you know what I mean? So like, I want to rule out certain pieces. So I want to know, what do you mean by your live stream jumps? And while you're working on that, Coins Making Sense says, good afternoon, sir. I've been enjoying your inspirational messages. Top job. Thank you so much, Coins. Appreciate you for coming through. I'm always glad to hear that people are resonating with our motivational content. Hoping that we can fuse the two even closer with some of the stuff that we got coming down the pike. All right. While we wait for Mont P24 to come back through, say your live stream jumps. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to describe what I might interpret as jumps, but I don't know. Are you watching? Do you see it on the replay? When you go back and watch the live stream on the replay, do you see that it's jumping? Is it just, I would need a little more information. And have you tried to test with another streaming platform? That could be something to try to rule out to say, hey, when I stream with this platform, it doesn't jump. When I stream with this platform, it does. Okay, so here we go. Got some more information. And my guy, David Hunt, is here. He says, we live. Thank you so much for coming through, David Hunt. So a little more information. The whole screen goes in and out while live streaming is recording. I'm using an iPad as a camera. The whole screen, okay. You're on the replay, it jumps, yes. Okay, so you're saying the whole screen. So StreamYard, the whole program window is what I'm assuming, because you say it jumps on the replay. So I'm assuming that the whole screen is not jumping on the replay. So when you say whole screen, you're talking about the program window. Essentially, you're talking about the window that people will see when they're watching. And when you say that the whole screen jumps, is it your camera alone that's on the screen when it jumps, or is it anything else that's on screen when it jumps as well? And the second question is, how is your iPad connected to the computer? How are you connecting your iPad to the computer? How is your iPad connected to the computer? Because how are you using your iPad as a camera for StreamYard? I'm interested to know. There's a couple ways to do it, but none of them are wired, is what I'm trying to get to. And so you need a camera, is what it sounds like to me. Sounds like you should try and test with your webcam that's built in to your computer and see if it jumps on that. See, maybe because in that scenario, in that configuration, wouldn't it jump? Are you saying it doesn't jump in Zoom when you use your iPad in Zoom? All right, so it says I log onto my iPad to StreamYard web browser and go live to YouTube. Oh, your everything is on the iPad. Okay, so first of all, you cannot say that your internet connection is good. That's not a thing, not with an iPad. So that is very much still a real possibility, because your iPad is on wireless, and wireless by its very nature does this. It's like a roller coaster. And because it's like a roller coaster, sometimes you get a good connection, sometimes you don't. So unless you're hardwired, it's very difficult to say I have a consistent high-speed internet connection, because you're on wireless, and by its very nature, it doesn't do consistent. So that's a first piece. Second piece, let's for those that are watching, let me know how many people we got on here. And we got 9 people on here right now. We got 2 people who hit the like button. I want to say a word of appreciation to both of you. In the coaching corner, we get these types of questions all the time. I can't tell you how many people, especially when I used to go live regularly on Amazon, people would come and say, I'm trying to do this on my phone. I'm trying to do this, on this device. And as you begin to probe, you start to realize like that device actually is not really meant to do streaming. So let me just kind of walk through 2 pieces. StreamYard is a web-based, it's a browser-based, web-based streaming application, meaning it is harnessing the power of your browser, and then whatever your browser can harness from the computer it's running on. And so first of all, you don't have a full version of your browser. I'm assuming you're using Chrome, because you can't use Safari on an iPad to use StreamYard. So I'm assuming you're using Chrome, and you're not using the full version of Chrome because you're on an iPad. So you already are limited in the type of horsepower that your streaming platform, which is StreamYard, can harness from the browser, because the browser is not a full browser. It's a mobile browser, and it's on an iPad. So all of those things compound, and it creates sometimes what I like to call an unstable scenario. A couple of things to try: close all the applications on your iPad, maybe even restart the iPad and start from there. And I just saw that you put Firefox in the chat. If you go and look at the notes from StreamYard, Firefox is not recommended. Neither is Safari. It's Chrome. Google Chrome is what's recommended. But you just have to keep in mind and, temper your expectations that it's not going to be a smooth process when you're not using an ideal streaming scenario. You're essentially doing a mobile stream. That's going to have mobile stream quality. It's going to have mobile stream issues. It's going to have mobile stream scenarios like the one you're talking about, where things are jumping. And if you would like to solidify that, number one, go through the notes. There is an app, I believe, right now for iOS that StreamYard came out with. Don't know that it's for iPad. I believe it's just for the phone. And I think it's also just to be a guest. I don't believe you can actually use it to host. And it sounds like you're doing a self-hosted stream. So that app may not work for you. But the idea is there are some things that you could do to ensure that you are getting the best out of that mobile streaming scenario. It's not what I would recommend. And to be quite frank, it's really not a StreamYard issue. It's based on the configuration that you've set up. So I switched to OBS. And you're running OBS on an iPad? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your questions, ModP24. Truly appreciate you coming through today. It allowed me to explain some things, and I hope that that was of value to several of the others that are watching, that are listening as well. Yes. I see your comments as well. David Hunt says, he says, welcome to Equip Institute, as if you got here before her, David. Come on. You know Florence was here way before you, sir. So I just wanted to make sure you know that. And Eneo is here before you as well. So just wanted to make sure you know that. David, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for coming through and hanging out with us today. Yeah, exactly. I know you. I was joking, Mont P24, when I said, and you're running OBS on your iPad. I know OBS doesn't run on an iPad, and that's my point. You probably should try to run StreamYard on that same computer and see how that runs with the jumping, because a computer is going to give you a far better experience for any streaming that you want to do. It doesn't matter the platform. A computer is what is going to give you a much more stable experience, especially if you can plug into the wall and have that hardwired. All right, so let me say this before we dive into our presentation. Time is 12:25, so I've got like 20 minutes to do this. There is a QR code right here. That QR code is for you to be able to get a free coaching session. It'll allow you to drop an email to my team and I, and that email will be received. We'll send you back some details. We need you to confirm something first before we can have you on the show, and then we will send you some further details in terms of how you can schedule that time. Now, with that said, I want to share with you 5 keys to being a successful content creator. It's really these are just general overview type points, but I believe that they will be transformational for somebody out there who maybe has never heard this presentation, or who is kind of stuck, as I've talked about earlier, right? Sometimes you get stuck. Sometimes you don't know exactly where to move. And so I want to free you up a little bit here. I want to share with you that one of the first things you want to do with your content, you want to sit down and you want to answer a question. You want to ensure that your content is answering a question. You want to, we're going to give you 5 keys. Key number 1 is answer a question. What is your content? What questions is your content answer? And so one of the things I always get in this part of the presentation is where people say something like, well, I watch this person and they're not necessarily answering a question. I'm like, listen a little closer. Yeah, tune in a little further. Everybody's answering a question. Well, I follow this person and they just do reaction content to this reality TV show that I like. Yes. And why do you go to their content? Well, because I like talking about that reality TV show. But why do you go to theirs and not like the 20 others? Well, I really like what they have to. Oh, yeah. They're answering a question. They're answering the question of, what did you think about this show? What did you think about when this happened? What did you think when Bobby and Susie met in one of the pods and they had this really cool conversation, but we thought that Bobby was going to marry Tiffany because they had already made this long connection and relationship. I don't know what be happening on these reality TV shows, Married at First Sight or whatever you want to call them. I do not watch them. My point is, I have several clients that do reaction shows to them. And if you're saying that there's certain types of content that is not answering a question, you are incorrect. Let me help you. Go to google.com. What are you going to type in there? You're not going to type an answer. You're going to type in a question. That's the way the website was formulated. You want to know what Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok all have borrowed from Google? You want to know? Search. And what is search if not answering a question? It's answering a question. You got to answer a question. I'm not going to stay long. I've got 5 points and I'm done. So point number 1, key number 1, you got to answer a question. But the second one is super critical. And that is, you've got to be consistent. You've got to be consistent. You know, somebody said to me, if content is king, then consistency is queen. You've got to be consistent. You got to be consistent in your delivery. You got to be consistent in your topic. You got to be consistent in your value proposition. You got to be consistent in your frequency. If I come live every Wednesday or every other Wednesday, if I'm going to do morning motivation on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, if I'm going to do Incubator's Couch Mondays at 7 p.m., I got to be consistent. I got to be consistent so that people can rely on it. Consistency eats talent for breakfast. Oh man, it's so many people that I've gotten a chance to work with that are just ridiculously talented. I mean, they have it. Podcasts that they launched during the pandemic that were just netting thousands of views and downloads. Absolutely awesome. But once outside opened back up again, those people didn't know how to be consistent. It doesn't matter how good you are. If I don't know when you're going to go live, if I don't know when's the next show going to be, if I don't know if you're going to stay on topic, if this week you're going to be talking about this and the next week you're going to be talking about that, I can't stay here. I subscribed for this, and now you're talking about this over here. You got to be consistent. Consistency is a key ingredient. It's a very non-sexy ingredient. It's one of those you just gotta have it type ingredients. It's like toilet paper. We're not really out here debating the need of it. You just gotta have it. Everybody's gotta have it. Consistency, being consistent in your content, absolutely critical. And here's a little tip for those that don't know. This is why my coaching kind of ebbs and flows. It kind of teeters into life coaching. It teeters into understanding yourself so much better and so much more, because once you recognize, oh gosh, I hope that you get this. Once you understand, once you figure out the up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B start of your consistency, once you figure out how you become consistent, it bleeds over into every other aspect of your life. It does. And so once you figure out consistency for content, you'll start seeing consistency in your parenting. Oh, you start seeing consistency in your diet. You'll start seeing consistency in your exercise. You'll start seeing consistency in your routines and your rhythms. You'll start seeing consistency in how you respond to emails. Once you figure out how you can be consistent, that's a huge cheat code on life. That's why I'm pausing here, because I want to make sure you catch this one. Yes, if you are going to utilize or if you are going to be a successful content creator, you're going to have to be consistent. You will. Your audience grows when you're consistent. Your brands come knocking when you're consistent. When you're consistent, not just in your delivery and your frequency, but also in your content, in your value proposition, in your target audience. If you're not consistent, then people don't know where to place you. I don't know when they're going to show up. You want to be a successful content creator? Here's 5 keys. Number 1, got to answer a question. Number 2, be consistent. And number 3, this is the one nobody likes. You've got to be vulnerable. Take the mask off. Show people your real true self, who you really are, and be vulnerable. Allow people into your space. Allow them to listen. The lady that I talked about earlier, and for those that weren't here, you'll have to scrub backwards to catch that story. The lady that I talked about earlier, one of the things that we recognized on those blips, when she was seeing these flashes of huge performance, what we realized, what we pinpointed was in those particular videos, there's something that she was doing that gave people a window into who she was. A little more than what her topic was. And so she began to infuse into her content herself. Not that she's completely perfect and all that other good stuff. No, the fact that she's undone. She began to talk about her process that she was going through with me as her coach in her content. Oh man, started to tell people, man, my coach and I figured out that this and this and this happened. And people began to respond because they realized, because they began to see themselves in her. They began to see themselves in what she was doing. She was human. She was human. And they could touch it, they could taste it, they could feel it. And here's the thing, that when you're vulnerable, it shares with people, don't miss this, it shares with people why they should listen to you. It gives you a sense of notoriety and credibility. You got street cred when you're vulnerable. Real talk. Nobody wants to listen to the person who's perfect. I was listening to a podcast last week, and the lady was like, I've always been a finance coach, but before I had these major financial catastrophes happen, I was coaching from a place that had no grace, that had no empathy, because I could not understand what the people I was talking to was going through. But now that I had this credit card scam, now that I had a house go through foreclosure, now that I had to move out of my apartment and be evicted and live on my mom's couch and live in that way, renting a room with 5 other friends for $500 a month because I could not afford an apartment on my own. Now that I've gone through those experiences, as I teach, as I coach, as I share, I can be vulnerable. And when people hear, okay, you get it. You actually know what I'm going through. Yeah, then they're willing to listen to whatever it is you have to say. 5 keys. Number 1, you got to answer a question. Number 2, you got to be consistent. Number 3, be vulnerable. Share with people your authentic, real, true self. Number 4, you've got to treat it like a job, y'all. If you never treat it like a job, you'll never get paid. Clock in. Listen, put your content creation on the calendar. Make sure, prioritize it. You wanted to meet when? Oh man, yeah, I'm busy at that time, but I could do later. You don't have to describe. You don't have to tell people I'm supposed to record a video then. I'm supposed to be scripting at that point. I'm supposed to be watching film at that point. I'm supposed to be bodying out my content calendar for Q4. You don't have to tell people that. You could just simply say, I have an appointment. Because if you never treat your content like a job, you'll never get paid. If you never treat it like a job, real talk. Let me help somebody, because somebody is listening to this job word and you're turning off like, oh no, I can't treat it like a job. Let me be clear. My dad told me, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's what I've sought to embody. And what I've realized is that my job is my it's my go-to space. It's something that I would do even if I wasn't being paid for it. And so for me, the term job is not a put off. Job is something that's gonna feed you. It's going to pay you. It's going to compensate you. It's going to have a return on the investment you're making into it. And if you never treat your content like a job, you're never going to really take it seriously. And everyone can tell. It's still a hobby for them. They've got gold if they ever took it seriously. But it's still a hobby, so we don't know if we'll ever get to truly experience all the things that could be possible if they went to the nth degree, if they actually hunkered down and treated this thing in the way that it deserved. We never get to tell. And then the last one, right? Answer a question, be consistent, be vulnerable, treat it like a job. And then the last one, create the feedback loop. Create a feedback loop. And for content creators, see, for business owners, they recognize the immense, crazy, and ridiculous value of a feedback loop. Let me show you a feedback loop for a content creator. Is anybody ready for this? Here's a comment from Mont P24, who thinks that I've ignored him, but no, I'm just presenting right now. I'm going to get to your question in just a moment. But Mont P24 says, thanks for your help, bro. I really appreciate it. This is the feedback loop. This is the feedback loop. I tell people all the time, I respond to every comment on every video that I've ever posted. And if I haven't responded to your comment, it's not because I didn't intend to, it's because I probably couldn't see it. So I won't lie to you. I found some comments the other day. I was like, where were these hiding? I go to the comments tab 2-3 times a week because it's on my calendar. It's on my schedule because content creation for me is a job and I want to be consistent at it. And that feedback loop is absolutely critical. From my feedback loop, I get new video ideas. From that feedback loop, I understand the pain points of my target audience even better. From that feedback loop, I'm able to speak intelligently to brands about what my audience wants to see so that their ads can be more successful. From that feedback loop, I'm able to create a business. From the feedback loop, I'm able to go back to the top and answer that question even better. From that feedback loop, I'm able to maintain consistency because it's so motivational to see a comment like Mont P24's where he says, thank you for helping me. From that feedback loop, I mean, it's not hard to be vulnerable when people are being vulnerable in the comments. And I can respond to them saying, I know what you're going through. I've been there, even worse. And what I can tell you is you'll get through, you keep pushing, you'll get through it. From that feedback loop, I'm able to tweak and adjust and modify and innovate and reflect and review and make other adjustments and fine tune my product offering. From that feedback loop, I'm able to have a business, viable business. And those are the 5 keys. I don't even know if there's another slide. No, there's not. Those are the 5 keys. Those are the 5 keys. Those are the 5 keys. I've been using my pedal today, y'all. The Stream Deck pedal. I've been using my pedal today to go to the next slide in my presentation, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. Demolition News is on the live. This is somebody whose comments always pump me up, always bring me back to my true north and help me to recognize why I do what I do. I love it. Mont P24, do not apologize, sir. When I get into presentation mode, I'm not necessarily, I'm not responding to comments, but I have seen your comment and you don't have to apologize. I see your comment, and your comment was, so this is StreamYard you're using right now? No, it is not. I use Ecamm Live for most of my shows on this channel. I use Ecamm Live to record most of my content on this channel. Even if I'm doing a how-to video on StreamYard, I'm using Ecamm to record it. So Ecamm Live is my go-to platform. For me, it makes the best sense. I happen to have subscriptions for EVMux, for Ecamm Live, for Restream, for StreamYard. I have those subscriptions because I utilize all of them in different ways. And sometimes they're for client projects and you just need to put things together. So I hope that makes sense. Yes, I cover a lot of StreamYard content because I use StreamYard a lot for my client projects, but I use Ecamm Live for my own shows, for my own content creation. I hope that makes sense. Mont P24 says, I'm a music producer. This video streaming is all new to me. Listen, you already have the chops from your music background. to be able to get into this thing. So just keep pushing. I'll tell you what, I don't know if you're familiar with Henny the Business. Henny the Business is he's a producer as well, somebody that I followed on YouTube for a very long time. And I tell you what, well, I just seen a comment. I've got to comment on this comment, but I'll tell you what, Henny the Business is one of the reasons why I'm using Ecamm Live. I remember he went live once and he was talking about Ecamm Live, and I was just like, whoa, what are you doing? How are you doing that? And I went down the rabbit hole. I was using StreamYard heavy at the time, but once I dived into Ecamm, I don't even lie to you. A lot of people, when they open up Ecamm, they get very, you know, they feel like it's complicated. They're very put off by how much stuff is there. They're like, oh, that's too much. When I first opened Ecamm Live and all the screens came up, I was like, thank you, God. Somebody took the way my brain processes broadcast production and put it into an application. And so for me, it is just like, it is second nature the way they've set up Ecamm Live. It just works so well for me. So I was literally on the Ecamm channel earlier today, and somebody was saying, so why Ecamm Live over others? They didn't really go into specifics in terms of some of the other platforms that are out there. And I just said to them, listen, I have worked with people who looked at StreamYard and said, this is really confusing. And they've looked at Ecamm and said, okay, thank you, this makes sense. And I've worked with people who've looked at Ecamm and said, oh my gosh, why so many things? This is too confusing. And then they've gone over to StreamYard and said, this makes sense. I don't think either of them are wrong. They're just playing to their own strength. They're playing to their own strength. Now, that said, I always tell people that Ecamm is prep. It's a lot of prep, a lot of pre-building. But once it's built, it can be just this. I mean, I'm literally pressing the pedal right now to bring up Yolanda's. I mean, just press the pedal. It could be that easy. You can't do that stuff with StreamYard. You can't do that thing with anything else. Anyway, let me see your question. First of all, Yolanda, thank you so much for being here. Yolanda and I got a chance to do a session together last week or week before. I can't remember what it was, and we had a great time. And I've been checking out some of her content. She says, okay, when live streaming, using a camera that allows 4K recording, Sony ZV-E10, is a Camlink 4K needed? Yes. Well, let me say it differently. A 4K enabled capture card is needed. Hopefully that makes sense. A 4K enabled capture card is needed. Now, the other, so that's a great question. But the comment that I wanted to get to, she says, Team Ecamm Live, love it. I'm personally very, very proud of this comment, because I just know the backstory and the journey it took you to get to be able to say this. And I'm just applauding you, sis. I feel like Ecamm is gonna, especially for your type of content, I feel like Ecamm is gonna completely take you to the next level. And I'm super excited that you are there, Okay. Let me get a couple of comments here. I'm coming back to your question, Tatiana. I see your question there as well. All right. Quinn says, your messages this week have been gold. Thank you. And thank you. Do not take it for granted. You did not have to make that comment. You did not have to come here and share that with me today. And I do not take that for granted. I want to say a word of thanks. Taylor Danae Harris says, wow, this is exactly what I needed to hear today. Thank you for this. It's time to get serious about what I know God is telling me to do. And let me tell you something. When you look at the 5 things that I shared in terms of being a successful content creator, and you add God to that mix, right? Oh gosh, sometimes I don't know, man. I feel like people just don't see what is happening, like what's at our fingertips. Sometimes I don't feel like we, like as a believer, we see that 12 disciples upended the entire world and they had no social media. Like, what if they had Facebook and YouTube and Reels and Shorts and social posts and streaming? What would they do with it? And I just want people, don't plug out, plug in. Social media and these types of platforms is amoral. What I mean by that is they are neither bad or good. It's what people use them to do. And so if you don't like the type of content you see on social media, then you start adding content. You become part of the good content that you want to see on social media. Oh, social media is all garbage. No. I can tell you right now, I know a lot of people, I am working with many of them who are putting out good content. And by good content, I don't mean that they're out there preaching. I mean, they're out there putting out good content that is changing people's lives. There's a guy that I'm working with that just does how-to videos. And by how to, let me qualify it. How to from the perspective of like how to tie a tie, how to change a tire, how to change the oil. And there are young men, his target audience is young men who don't have a father. My God, man. And there are young men who are finding his content and learning the things that dad would have taught them. And he's experiencing exponential growth. Do you know the type of impact he can have on those men, on those young men? Because he answered a question for them, because he met a need for them, and because he has been vulnerable in the way that he does it. Because he doesn't show up haphazardly whenever he wants to. He's consistent, because those young men need a consistent voice. This guy is able to deposit in his video of how to change the oil the need for reflection and to sit quietly with your thoughts at least once or twice a day. And man is infusing into his content the sheer unadulterated word of God without saying it. And I'm saying this to say, when you add God to that component, exponential. All right, Demolition News is on the live today. Demolition News is somebody who is an OG. This guy's been following me from the beginning. So he says the feedback loop runs deeper than that. It has also helped direct my content to better suit the audience wants and needs. That's so good. These guys are helping me preach this thing today. No, I mean, these are 5. I'm just giving you 5. Five things that will help you to be a successful content creator, because success is not what the world has determined it to be. We get to define what success looks like. And for Demolition News, I know that he is experiencing a level of success right now, and I'm excited about it. I celebrate with him. And I'm hoping that we can have him on the show. I know that we swapped emails. I don't know where we are in that tussle, but I'm going to get back on it. I was doing some heavy travel, and I want to make sure I get back on that. I think the ball's in my court. So I want to apologize if we have been delinquent in getting back to you, Demolition News. I know I've been delinquent in getting back to Tatiana. She asked a follow-up question, and I don't think I got back to her, but we want to get her on the show as well, because Tatiana, I don't really care if you go live. I just want you to come on and chat with us, okay? So that's the answer to the question. So Tatiana's asking, are you happy with the pedal? And the answer is yes. Now, I will say, I had to do some playing around with it. I usually wear socks at home, and so it's kind of like my version of slippers, and I do not like to press the pedal with my socks. So what I realized, just by continuing to play with it, is that using my bare feet, so I don't, my feet are naked right now, but using my bare feet with the pedal has been absolutely phenomenal. It's just that tactile touch and feel with my toes. I can feel where the buttons are and be like, I just have a better sense of what I'm pressing, and I press it more confidently. So I've been able to incorporate it. Anything that you're going to add to your operation, it's going to take time to get used to it. But the fact that I can, let me go to the presentation scene. The fact that I can go now here, the fact that I can just boom, press on the pedal hands-free and talk as if somebody else is presenting that, or it's not presenting, but producing, that has been a game changer for me. And so I absolutely love that component. I love that component. Okay. I don't know. I think I lost my audio. We got it back. All right. We got it back. Let me go back down here. Tatiana says, Ecamm fam. Raven Yolanda says, I love Ecamm because of you, Kirk. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited about that. Okay. Ecamm fam. I'm just so excited about it. What is Ecamm? Ecamm is a tier 3 streaming application, very similar to OBS. I know you mentioned OBS earlier. It is not free. It is a paid application. I always recommend that you get the pro version of it. It is actually cheaper than StreamYard, but it is tier 3. And what I mean by tier 3 is that you don't use it in the cloud. You don't use it in the browser. You install it locally on your computer. So it is computer resource dependent. What do I mean by that? You will need a beefy computer. I mean, can I say it that way? And it is only available on Mac. So you said you had an iPad. It sounds to me like you might be in that ecosystem. It's very likely that you probably have a Mac, but if you don't, just wanting to let you know, Ecamm is only compatible with Mac. If you have an M1, any of the Apple Silicon hardware computers, Ecamm's gonna fly. So right now I'm running it on an M1 Mac Mini, 8 gig of RAM. This works perfectly for my stream desk. Now, for my desk where I do my content creation and I do my recording, I'm looking at getting a Mac Studio. Currently, I'm using a MacBook Pro, M1 MacBook Pro with the 16 gig of RAM. So that has been working well for me. But I definitely want to up my game. Taylor Janae says, I get it. I understand what you're saying in the pauses. Sometimes you got to pause and let people kind of fill in the blank, right? Right, Taylor? Thank you so much for deciphering the pause. Come on with it. Come on and preach this thing with me today. Bashar Wilson is here. Doc, what's good? Hey, Kirk, I use StreamYard in 1080. Does it matter if I live stream / record content in 1080 or 4K into the program? So it does, okay, it's gonna down convert. If you're pushing 4K into StreamYard, it can only manage 1080 anyway, so it's gonna down convert it. So it doesn't quite matter, but here's what I've always noticed. Every time I've seen a stream that is down converted, it still looks a little better. I don't know what it is. So like when I do a stream and I'm pushing 1080 to a stream that is 1080, it looks good. But when I'm doing a stream where I'm pushing 4K and it's down converted to 1080, for some reason it's got another extra crispiness on there. It's just, I don't know. I wish I could explain. Now, I will also add this, StreamYard's 1080 isn't quite 1080. And if you've not noticed that, then, go ahead and just wipe that from your mind. But that's one of the things that I always try to make sure people are aware of. Like, just browser-based streaming is not an exact science. You got to remember that before, all these other ways of going live came out, where you could literally install an application and be able to go live, that was not a thing. Like, I've worked in broadcast production long enough to where I remember having encoders for every destination. I had a physical encoder for Facebook. I had a physical encoder for another Facebook page that I was streaming to. I had 2 more physical encoders for 2 YouTube pages I was streaming to. A stack of like 6 encoders. You used to have to do that physically to be able to send your feeds to those different places. And your bandwidth in that particular location had to be able to support sending to all those multiple feeds. One of the things that Restream kind of got its name and its claim to fame is that it was taking your one feed and sending it to all those destinations. I still use Restream like that to this day. For many of my cloudy projects, definitely for my church, we stream to Restream and from Restream to elsewhere. And so I just always want people to understand from whence we've come, right? What mean these stones? Like, this is where we've come from. This is where we are currently. And so there are things that we do currently in the streaming world that a lot of people don't understand the history behind it. So I just want to make sure, we kind of get some of those things in context. When you're streaming from a browser, there's just some things that just don't translate the same way that it used to when you had a physical encoder. And so sometimes you can't necessarily dictate the level of quality because you're passing through so many different jumps in order to get from me looking at this camera to you looking at it on your TV or on your tablet or on your phone or wherever you're watching me at. Thank you for watching. All right, Seek Things Above TV says, wow, that's a dope perspective, Kirk. We are disciples with tools at our disposal that can impact thousands right from our homes. Slow clap. Slow clap. That's it. That's it. Come on, Yolanda, teaching the young men how to. Okay. Okay, cool. Mont P24 says, I'm watching a tutorial on Ecamm. Good. I hope you get to check out a couple of mine. Miss Tanya TV, I haven't seen you in a minute. Thank you so much for coming through. Hey, Kirk, love the message. We need more good content out there. We need more good content. Forget the numbers and make your content count. I'm adding my 2 cents in. Let me tell you something. The amount of believers, if we, okay, you're gonna get me started. Let me leave it alone. Let me leave it alone. Let me leave it alone. If we have more doers than complainers, if somebody hit record and oh gosh, and here's the piece of it that's so good is that the message that we have is so practical if we share it from our lived experience. So somebody hit me up recently and they were like, hey man, I noticed you don't ever touch on, topics like this. I don't even want to go into what topic they were specifically asking me to touch on. And I was just like, that's not my lived experience. And so while I may have an opinion, I don't feel like God is calling me to talk about that because that's not my lived experience. It's like, I have no credibility in that lane. And I think this is, don't miss it, because I shared with you 5 keys to being a successful content creator. Answer a question, be consistent, be vulnerable. You can't be vulnerable about something you've never experienced. You can't. You cannot be vulnerable about something you've never experienced. And so I said to him, no, that's not something God's calling me to share or calling me to speak on, because he has other people who have experienced it and they're just being quiet. If we just, let me leave it alone. Okay. I'm already over my time. It's 101. I got to get going. Got a lot of stuff to do today. Always add God to every facet of your life. Come on, Yolanda. Y'all out here preaching today. Oh, what's going on? I love your point of being the content that you want to see on social media. I got really burned by seeing communities I love fall apart because of how platforms reward hot take engagement. Come on. Oh, Eden Lou is on the live. That's her name. That's her handle, Pikachu Lou. But Eden, this is Eden right here. You see? And this is one of my sister from another mister. Thank you so much for coming through and hanging out with us today. Got to get you on too. I think we talked about this. Didn't we talk about this, Eden? Like Creator Camp is coming back and we still haven't been on one another's shows. We got to fix this, okay? DM is coming your way today. Yes, today. DMs are coming your way. Yes, I love King Randall, new emerging king. Come on, Enenea, I love it. But the truth is, if everyone that actually has smart things to say stop contributing because of that, it only perpetuates the problem. Thank you. If we did, I love that Jordan jersey in your profile picture. If we stopped, if we just said, oh, it's just, I'm just gonna leave it up to whoever to post things on there. Come on. Then what? We don't know. Where would we be? Where would we be? Add your voice to the conversation. Add your voice to the conversation. That's like saying, I'm not gonna vote because I don't like the options. I'm gonna get myself in trouble today. Let me leave y'all alone. Love the pedal, Florence says. I love it as well. Okay. I love this. This conversation is emerging in the chat. Tatiana says, what does hot take engagement mean? And Eden responds and says, it means that people say things that they know will trigger people for more views / clicks and engagement with the goal of wanting vitality and exposure. Listen, this thing right here, virality over actual meaningful thoughts. Come on. I love it. You guys are, my moderators are on it. They're putting the eCam link in the chat. You're putting the eCam link in the chat. Mod P24 says, bro, you explained so much today. I was really frustrated using StreamYard. I couldn't find answers to my questions. I am so glad that we were able to get you across the line, man. I'm so glad we were able to get you across the line. So glad about that. So glad about that. Oh, Miriam Crawford says, hey, Pastor Kirk, we're trying to start doing more chat moderation in our church. Any guidelines or recommendations to engage the online audience through chat? Love this question. All right, let's dig in. I love this question. A couple of guidelines. Number one, your chat moderators need to be active members of the chat. I know this is sounding weird, and I feel like I might need to just go ahead and clip this part out because I'm about to say a couple of them. But your chat moderators need to be active members of the chat. Your chat moderators need to be active members of the chat. If your chat moderators are never in the chat, they're already bad moderators. They're not the right pick. Your chat moderators need to, it's the same concept of being vulnerable, being credible. Like, you can't be a chat moderator and you don't even know what the chat's about. That's first. Number one, chat moderators need to be active in the chat. Number two, chat moderators need to help the conversation stay focused on what's happening at the live site. Help the conversation stay focused on what's happening at the live site. Do not run after squirrels. Do not engage side conversations that have nothing to do with what's happening at the live site. That's number two. Number three, chat moderators are not there to talk down or go toe to toe or comment for distractors or detractors from your broadcast. Okay. Somebody's going to come on there and say, hey, I can't believe that so-and-so has fake eyelashes on. It's not that kind of party. We're not going to take digs at somebody who's on the stage doing ministry. And so because of that, I always teach my moderators, we're not engaging with that person. We simply flood the chat with comments that are on target, that are on topic. Flood the chat. People will get used to it. They will get used to the fact that, okay, in this chat, we're not just gonna have random conversations. We're not just going, hey guys, but what about what's happening in Gaza? We are sensitive to what's happening in Gaza, but the person preaching right now is preaching they're preaching to young people about young people issues. Your comment is off topic. And so it's not that we delete that person. It's not that we beat that person over the head. We simply flood the chat with comments that are relevant to what's happening at the live site, that bring people's attention back. Chat moderators should have the ability to kick people out of the chat. I always say, everyone is welcome to watch, but chatting is a privilege. We don't withhold watching from anyone. If you want to watch the church that I get to serve as media pastor at, you can watch, but chatting is a privilege, and we reserve the right to remove your privilege if you should step on any of our guidelines, and we're not going to explain it to you. We're not gonna have a conversation. I don't put chat offenders on timeout. I don't give them a chance. You say something that is derogatory, you say something that is off color, you say something that is soliciting, people dropping their PayPal and their Cash App in the chat, you're gone. We hide you on the channel permanently, and you can watch. And we thank you for watching, but you no longer can engage in the chat. So those are just a couple that I have right off the top of my head, because I know them, because this is not something that is foreign to me. This is something I do on a week-to-week basis. And so I'm thankful for your question, Miriam Crawford. Thank you so much for that. Oh, okay. Equip Institute says Kirk has a whole eCam course in the workers warehouse. This is correct. You can also buy it for free. Eden says, I'm glad you asked for clarification. Hot takes is a term more used in sports media. Sometimes I don't realize the terminology I'm using doesn't make sense out of context. That's a whole word right there, Eden. I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna touch on it, but that's a whole word right there, out of context. Tatiana says, thanks for teaching us. Kirk, we gotta do the home and home and I'm ready to do some VOs for you too. Oh, let's go. No. We actually did some content together. Eden and I did some content together on how to use your phone as a webcam. I thought that was pretty dope. Don't get Kirk in trouble. Don't get in trouble, Kirk. But for real though, not voting makes no sense. I digress. Yes. I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm gonna leave it there. Oh my word. Active members of the chat. I often wait to see if somebody's going to be consistently in the chat for at least 6 weeks before I give them the wrench. And David Hunt, as you can see on his handle, he has the wrench. He's one of my moderators, and so I'm always mindful of who I'm going to, because you give that wrench out, man, you got to be careful. Yep. David Hunt says, Miriam, that's a great question. So Miriam, your question has really helped, really scratching where people are itching. It's one of those that's very specific, but it's not something that I talk about often. And I'm actually making a note on my screen here that I need to touch on this a little more often, because I've grown an entire team at Oakwood University Church where I serve as media pastor, and we have about 5, 6, maybe 7 chat moderators, and they are active. Okay. Michael Fleming says, is this the public chat? Yep, it's public chat. Listen, Eden says, you can't put us in the same room. It was bananas. So Eden, I'm gonna be a camp counselor this time. So I need you to make sure you're in my group. I'm pinch hitting for Diana Gladney. So definitely make sure we're hanging out together. I hope that we get a chance to hang out together. That's gonna be dope. Guys, listen, I'm over my time. I hope that this was meaningful for you guys today. We wanted to share some insights and perspectives on coaching, in particular content creation, and 5 keys to being successful. And we shared those in today's episode of the Coaching Corner with Kirk. It's the whole icon and logo right here. So on the screen, the entire show has been a QR code. You can pause it right now and scan that bad boy, and you can actually drop us an email and you can get a free coaching session. If you've ever wanted a coaching session where I can sit with you one-on-one, now it will be live. It'll be like this. It'll be live, but we can sit one-on-one and kind of chat through some of the things that you're working on, some of the things that you're facing, some of the things that you want to overcome. And that will just kind of give you a taste of what coaching is like. For many people, they're just, it's so foreign. Like what would content coaching even feel like? What would it look like? Content coaching can look like, kind of what we did with the guy that was here earlier today. I'm now blanking on his name. Mont P24. Just being able to have a sounding board where you can answer some of those questions. Now, some of the questions that he asked, my answers were not necessarily like the flowery ones. It wasn't necessarily like, hey, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. It was more or less like, you might want to look into this, you might want to look into that. You may be missing some options by not doing it this way. But I love this space in particular, and this is where we're going to be making significant deposits as we go forward throughout the remainder of the year. So with that said, I think I'm done. I want to say a word of thanks to all of you. I made it a little brighter in the studio today. How y'all like that? It's not as dark, Normally I have it, all the blinds are closed. Today we decided we're gonna keep it like this. We're gonna keep it like this. So I could attend on the live show. Okay, good. We gotta get the planning committee to the rig. So I am in your group. They better not even try to split us up. Listen, Eden, I just want to make sure that we get a chance to hang out together. I'm so excited to be on the team, and super excited that we're friends. Real talk. having friends is not a default at our ages anymore. Does that make sense? Like, I have some younger nieces and nephews. They're really younger. We're talking about 5, 6, 7, and they just make friends so quickly, so easily. And that does not happen at other ages. And I don't know what it is about content creation. I don't know what it is about going live and hanging out with you guys like this for an hour. Maybe sometimes an hour a week, maybe a little more if you come to Morning Motivation and some of the other shows. But I just feel like we're friends. I really do. And I thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us today. 13 of you guys on the live, and we have 11 likes. I appreciate every one of you. I cannot thank you enough for your time and attention, for coming through and hanging out. And I've got to jump, so I'm gonna hit this outro button if I can find it. But I also want to say a word of thanks. Feeling the love in the room. Tatiana says, I love it. I want to say a word of thanks to you one last time for coming through and hanging out with us today. I truly appreciate it. I don't take even a moment of it for granted. Thank you. We'll see you in the next one. Be blessed. Y'all gonna make me cry. Be blessed, man. Make it a great one.